All right, day two. I wanted to talk about this book, Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Probably my favorite book of all time. And it's actually probably tied with Mastery of Love. That was a real good one, to be honest. But I really like what he talks about and how it affects my life and how it uh, already has, I guess. So I just wanted to talk about a little segment of the book that I thought was really cool, and can maybe give you some perspective on what exactly you can do to, deal with rough times and hard, difficult emotions. For example, like when you're going through a breakup and when uh, you lost somebody or something of the sort, right? So I want to talk about this, right? And the chapter two, is consciousness, the way out of pain. Nobody's life is entirely free of pain and sorrow. Isn't a question of learning to live with them than trying to avoid them. So that's what somebody's asking Eckhart Tolle, and he answers with the greatest part of human pain is unnecessary. It is self created as long as the unobserved mind runs your life. The pain that you create now is always some form of non acceptance, some form of unconscious resistance to what is. On the level of thought, the resistance is some form of judgment. On the emotional level, it is some form of negativity. The intensity of the pain depends on the degree of resistance to the present moment, and this in turn depends on how strongly you are identified with your mind. The mind always seeks to deny the now and to escape from it. In other words, the more you are identified with your mind, the more you suffer. Or you may put it like this: the more you are able to honor and accept the now, the more you are free of pain and suffering and free of the egoic mind. So, the way I interpret that is, well, there's a couple ways. So, I'm going to break it down a little bit. For example, the identity, when he talks about the identity and how that is creating the pain, the identity that you give yourself, right? It's in your mind, and it's probably been like that since forever. And so, for example, right, insecurities, I think, is probably one that I mean, everyone struggles with insecurities, probably, at some point in their life, probably struggled with insecurities. So, what he's saying is that, wait, am I strongly identified in mind? Mind always seeks to deny the now to escape from it. Yes. Okay. So, I just kind of had to get my thoughts brewing again. But basically, he's saying the more you are able to be present, right, which is being the now, and accept the now, the less pain and suffering you will go through. Now, doesn't mean it'll all go away, right? Because it's just your human emotions, right? There's like a fine line between controlling them and not having any at all. And that a good example is, like I said, insecurities. Those stem from the identity and the egoic mind that creates those like insecurities, stigmas, right? Um, so the more that you come to acceptance with who you are and how you were born and the features that your mother and father gave you, by the way, um, it reduces the amount of pain and suffering, right? Because you don't have to worry about those things as much. So, for example, for me, I've struggled a lot with my whatever this is, right? Whatever you want to call it, lack of jawline, whatever and was like, I gotta Mew, you know what I'm saying? I gotta Mew my picture. Like it looks decent on camera, but again, in person, when I look in the mirror, I'm like, God damn it! I wish I could reduce the fat. I wish I could look more like sharpened, like a man. You know what I'm saying? And it's because I don't work out enough and I don't eat healthily enough. I don't sleep well enough, and it just goes, it spirals, right? And it leaves me in this pit of like despair and self pity, and it's just like not good. And the thing is, that stuff is created by my egoic mind, and it's an identity that I put on myself. So the more you come to accept the present and be within the present, the less you worry about and stress about these things. I can't say I'm fully free from it, you know, but I can say for sure that something like this and like, how skinny I am, like how my hair looks, right? It doesn't really affect me as much as it used to, and that's because I've come to accept it is who I am in the present. That doesn't mean I can't change for the better or you can't change for the better, right? It just means this is who I am, and I'm gonna be um, okay with it, and I'm still gonna be able to experience things like joy and happiness, and it's yeah, it's okay, you know. Um, that's a good feeling to have. I'm sure most people probably have some insecurities of their own, and if not, that's great, you know. Some other examples are probably. Hold on, I lost the chapter real quick. Let me see. Uh, Relationships, I want to say. So when somebody doesn't like you back, it's very easy to take it personally. Or when somebody, even at a broader scale outside of relationships, like somebody acts a certain way towards you and you take that as a personal attack, right? That's your egoic mind creating an identity, and that's um, all in your head. Simply, it really is. What's one example? So one example I had was when I was with my brother the other day in the car. He wasn't really talking much, you know. He wasn't really talking too much. I tried to make conversation with him. It felt kind of weird. The vibe was weird. I was like, I wonder if there's something I did, like, not I did wrong. I just wonder if there's some disconnects here, or if there's something that makes it awkward when it's just us two. And I was like, But then come to find out later, he's just dealing with a lot of life stuff. So me taking that as like a personal thing was not good, because you never know somebody's situation, right? You never know why somebody acts the way they do. Most times it's due to past events and traumas, or even like future stresses, right? And that stuff like can affect their personality, and there's nothing I can do except um, be accepting of it and not take it personally, right? So, not that I took it personally at all. I was just kind of like, I hope he's okay, because the more you realize that a lot of things are not because of you specifically, like the way other people act towards you, um, the more you start to feel like empathy, and the more you start to feel that people can change for the better if they want to, and the less you start to care about what people say about you, and um, how people judge you. And yeah, that's just, again, that's all due to being in the present and accepting of what the situation is, and being able to control your egoic mind and controlling your personal outlook. Sorry, your personal outlook. Whatever. I gotta, I gotta get better with vocabulary. That's why I'm doing this as well. I gotta speak better. The more you control that, though, the better you are at accepting, right? And that kind of leads me into like relationships is the same way at a larger, more like emotional scale, right? So when your girlfriend is like feeling sad, or boyfriend or whatever, right? Um, you kind of take it personally, like, oh, is there like, why are they talking to me like sad? You know, is there something I did wrong? Uh, but most of the time, it's just they're going through something, and They are just looking for a safe place to be vocal about it, and that's really it. There's not much more to think about besides that. It's very easy to get swallowed by those thoughts, right? Um, Again, a lot of people lose to overthinking. I myself included. My first relationship was a lot of overthinking and less um, actual speaking and communication that I actually wanted to do. So again, that stuff you can't take it personally. The way people act sometimes is what it is. Same thing with breakups. It's normal to be happy with somebody, but from what I've learned in this book, and honestly from life experiences, is the happiness always does come with the sadness. Sorry, I was listening. Yeah, yeah, my puppy's awake. Okay. Um, that's just about scratching my door. What was I saying? Yes, the happiness will come with the sadness, and sadness will come with the happiness because emotions, um, it's like it's just bound to happen, right? So you're gonna have highs and you're gonna have lows. Where was I getting with this? I can't remember. Um, oh yeah, breakups. That stuff is also just out of your control, and the faster you learn to accept the present and not dwell on the past and whatever, however the relationship ended, whether it's because the other person cheated or whether it was a mutual understanding, one person fell out of feelings, lack of communication, just different people, whatever it is, right? Being able to accept the present and move forward is a skill that takes time to develop, especially when it's a longer term relationship that you're coming out of. But once you get into that acceptance, that doesn't mean you're going to be happy or feel joy. It just reduces a large amount of the pain that your mind creates, and it helps you control your life better, right? So that's how I feel about the topic, and that is also what it touched on in here. Mm, for example, this is just my personal tidbit that I want to add onto this, which is I think from my experience with girlfriends and friend girls, when they break up with their boyfriends, usually it's the girl breaking up with the man, they usually broke up in their mind like months before, like weeks before, you know? So they come to terms with the present faster, and sometimes they can't make the decision for themselves and it plays out really bad. Sometimes they do make the decision to break up and then it seems like they're okay. That's because they've already gone through the grieving. They've come to acceptance that this is not the place they want to be. And that's it. You just have to move forward, right? So you can't, as a man especially, you can't use that as like, oh, she's already with another guy 2 months after, right? Rebound and like, then what we had wasn't even love, right? All that stuff. You can't just assume somebody's emotions like that from just your own thoughts, you know? Like I genuinely think most people are in relationships because of love at first, right? Or infatuation, whatever. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, right? You have to move forward and you have to accept that this is the present, this is the now. I'm gonna try and control my egoic mind, my identity of myself and the identity I place on others and what I think of others and all this stuff, and I'm gonna just accept that this is what it is. I have no goal for now. I I have less of a jawline than other more attractive people do. I have less muscles, right? I'm skinny. Accept that and all will be better. Not okay. It won't be perfect, but it'll reduce the amount of pain. And I'm coming up on 15 minutes, so I'm out of here. All right, peace out. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Be back for day 3 tomorrow. Peace.